Hello and good afternoon. This is Janine Bolin, and today we're going to be talking about the top 3 mistakes authors make. This is a workshop. It's one of those things where I'll be pausing the video at certain times so that you can go work on your various projects. But this is something that's very helpful for people who have purchased the book Author Podcasting, and I'll hit the pages for you, let you know what pages we're on as we move through this. But there are 3 things as a podcaster and a broadcaster, because I've been in radio since 1987, that I'd like to share with people. Okay, first of all, I want to say welcome to one of the most supportive communities you'll ever run into, and that is for fellow authors. Authors help authors. And I just wanted to let you know, welcome. We're going to do everything in our power to be able to assist you when it comes to selling your books or getting your message out there. Many of us write books because we have something we want to share, and then we get strangled almost by the marketing aspect of it. And I'm going to help you get over those little hurdles. When I first started writing back in 2005, they knew me as a financial first responder. I was helping people with debt-free living. The very first book I ever published was Money It's Not Just for Rich People. And as time went on, I am now the author of 11 books. I'm working on book number 12. And this is one of those things that happens when you sell books. You get very wonderful people writing you back on Facebook saying, I absolutely love this. Erin, she sent this to me this week, and I just wanted to say thank you, Erin, a shout out to you. She is the author of Be a Badass. She has these towels that she passed out at her recent book launch for Beaten to Badass, and she talks to women who come from domestic violence. Anyhow, she was one of those wonderful people who's incredibly supportive. The other one is Jeanette Anderson. I want to give a shout out to her Bodacity Action Heroes. She specializes in helping people live their most bodacious, bold life possible. She is a fantastic person, very much involved in very colorful ways of life. And she gave me a shout out, a 5-minute video of this is how you go about taking care of your podcasters after you've been on their show. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, about things that I do that really help me get a lot of what we call social proof or social media response where I don't have to pay for it. So we're going to help you with some of that marketing as well. But I am now, like I said, author of 11 books, and I took this picture just so you could see them all printed out. It's one of those things that every once in a while I look back over the last 7 years of my life and I'm like, wow, I've kind of got a lot done. But I also wanted to let you know that a lot of people think I'm a super amazing success, but I wanted to share with you a couple of failures that I had, just so that you can see that sometimes all the ideas I come up with aren't necessarily good ones. I was part of a comedy club there for a period of time, and Michelle Moross was holding this wonderful event. It was called the 100 Author Event. And so I drove down to Colorado Springs area. We had this major event. There were 100 authors in the room, and we had very few people show up for the public. And when I started digging into why that happened, I learned a lot. So this was a fail as far as the event itself and the goal that I had, which was to meet more public, potentially get more beta readers. But it was absolutely a success when it came to meeting a bunch of other authors. The other thing I wanted to share with you is 2020 and 2021 has been really rough on a lot of us because we've had to do things very differently. This was an event that we had set up. It was going to be for the financial first response, and I was helping people with debt-free living. I had this plan. I had a hotel set up and everything, and we were coming out of shutdown in October of 2021. And the hotel decided not to allow anybody into the hotel. A masking policy went back into place exactly 8 days before my event. So the camera crew and I all masked up. And the only time I didn't have my mask on was when we were videotaping. This was an event that cost me $2,500, and I ended up giving it away for free. And so as far as what it did, it was a failure. However, for the people that are working with that now, that online course and all the videotaping that we did, I now have 258 people signed up for that, and they love it, even though I gave it away because I just couldn't make it happen the way I wanted. So one of the things I want to bring to your attention is the fact that even though what we are seeking or where we are headed, sometimes we end up just thinking it's totally and completely impossible. I love this picture because here you have this little sea turtle and he's got a jetpack on and goggles, and he is making his dream of flight happen. This is a picture that inspires me. And I make sure that I keep it available and around me so that when I have these epic failures, I have this amazing picture by an incredible artist that is inspiring me of, you know what? I just have to try something else and I have to try it again. Literally, when I have big failures, I go back to my personal drawing board. I do not consider myself an excellent artist, but I consider myself a homegrown one. And this is one of those things that sometimes I just need to rev myself back up. And so I created this little stair-stepping process that I will go through just to kind of give myself some encouragement. And I offer it to you as well. I saw it online and they had done it much more professionally. And I went, I just like having the different colors around and just reminding myself, so where am I today? Am I at a place where I won't do something? I can't do something. I want to do something. Am I stuck on the how do I do something? Who do I need to hire? These are all the questions that I walk myself through. And what's amazing is by the end of the day, I actually do accomplish something that will move me toward my goal. So that was the purpose of this slide. Here's a little slide when I was changing my branding. This was something I did in 2015. I wanted to move out of the financial first response sector. I really wanted to move into helping authors. And so 7 years ago, I made that transition. And so this was the little idea that I had that I just always wanted to be seen with my headset on, smiling because I was having the time of my life. And that has happened. So that was a success. So let's talk about the top 3 mistakes that authors make. And one of the things I'd like to share with you is that I am a professional broadcaster. I have over 5 or 6 now podcasts that I have promoted or produced at one time or another. And I am on 47 different internet-based platforms and over 62 different radio stations. My content is part of an exchange. My business is I actually help corporations and individuals with their podcast programs. We actually are a concierge or a white glove business, and that is how we go about making the money. A lot of what I do for authors and like this video, that sort of thing, these are things that I do just because I enjoy sharing what I know with my authors. It's part of me giving back to the community. So one of the things as a podcaster, as well as a radio show host, that I have noticed is when authors go about getting marketing or getting on shows or being interviewed, there are these mistakes I see happening over and over again. Now let's keep you from having those things happen. How about? Now, my father was in the Navy, so I was a Navy brat. And it was because of that that I learned certain techniques, certain automations, and ways to think with redundancy to keep me out of debt and at the same time still moving forward on whatever my particular mission was. And so the things that I like to share with you is that whenever you're a part of a space program or a military mission, the 2 things that they think about is they don't want loss of life. They try to avoid it at every opportunity. So loss of life or loss of mission are considered failures in certain areas of the military. And so I just wanted to let you know, for me, when it came to my entrepreneurial journey, because if you're an author, you're in business, whether you want to accept that or not, but you are an entrepreneur. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I made 2 commitments to myself. Loss of life is if I went into debt for my business, I don't ever go into debt for my business. And the thing is, loss of mission, meaning I stopped creating content. So the whole purpose of me selling books is to make sure that I can write the next book. The whole purpose to me consulting with people and running a consulting business is so that I can have income so I can continue to create. All right. So that is my focus. That's my purpose. That's my mission. And so hopefully it's in alignment with you. The thing is it's the difference between strategy versus tactics. And I don't know if you've ever had this explained to you or not. It's very common in marketing to say what you need is a plan. You need a strategy. But then one of the things the military really helped me with was also tactics. And tactics is different than your strategy. So let's do a little definition here. Strategy, it's a plan of action designed to achieve an overall aim. Okay, that is what you want. What is your overall goal? Now, for me, when I write a book, it's not to sell books. It's basically to create a message, but my purpose for creating that book differs depending upon what is the message in that book. Sometimes I create books because I want people to call me and hire me to help them with their podcast. Other times I write a book because I want people to call me and find out about some of the tactics that my company uses to be successful. So it depends on the strategy as to why I am doing certain things. And that's the overall plan. I usually create these plans in 6-month blocks, but I always have a strategy to be able to make money so I can continue creating. That's the bottom line. Now let's talk about tactics for a minute. Tactics are carefully planned actions that you want to do to achieve certain ends. So therefore, if some of your tactics work and are successful, that's great. If others are failures, guess what? I stop doing those actions. And so this is where strategy versus tactics is so important to get that in your head, because the strategy is the plan. Tactics is the action. And so once you get that set up in your head, then you won't make the number one mistake most authors make. And that is they confuse the strategy and the tactics, they go into debt, and the next thing you know is they have to stop working on selling their book or marketing their programs because they're in debt and they have to go back to work or something like that. The second biggest issue that I see that they have is authors go, I just want to sell more books. I want to sell more books. And that's your plan. And they don't have any tactics. They have no idea on how to market their book. Now, I want to let you know that most authors do not make a living by selling books. The profit margin on a book is anywhere from $2 to $7. So you realize that in order for you to make $70,000 a year, you would have to sell 10,000 copies of your book. You'd have to sell them. Okay, so just realize the amount of work you would have to go through to sell 10,000 copies of your book in order to make that $70,000. Please realize that most authors sell programs and they sell consulting, they have services and other products that they bundle with their books. And so I would really recommend that rather than sell more books being your strategy, that your strategy be, how can I build a repertoire of products and services that selling the book is one of the tactics to my greater plan. So that's one of the recommendations I have for you. Now, the last one, the third biggest one, authors will go into marketing and interviews and they have no media kit. And this can be devastating to your overall marketing strategy. Why is that? Because guess what? We crazy podcasters, we make a living making sure that we have content that is available for our subscribers, okay? And when in my book, Author Podcasting, I talk about how you can be a standout guest. And the number one thing I talk about is the media kit. And one of the things that can tell me whether a media kit is good or not is the headshot. So Crystal was kind enough to share with me, this was one of her first headshots she ever gave me. And I turned to her and I said, Crystal, I cannot use this. This makes me look bad. I do not want a thumbnail that I'm posting out on my 47 different internet-based platforms that has a blurry picture of you. I want something that looks really good. And so she went and got new headshots. The thing was, she sent me the file that she had been given. She didn't realize that it was a little tiny logo-sized file and that the pixelation was that low. So we had to do a little bit of education for her, and she went out and got some beautiful headshots, and I even helped her with her book that she was publishing. The resolution of a professionally done headshot, you can see the difference immediately. You have a lot of pixelation and it really it literally picks up every wrinkle in your face. However, you want that so that when people take your image and they put it down in that small 500 by 500 pixelation, it will work. Also, you want a variety of headshots. I highly recommend that you have some shots of you holding your books, okay? Some of your shots are close up, that sort of thing. The other thing about your media kit is you want an introduction, not necessarily a bio. Now, when I published the book Author Podcasting, I said in there are 3 different types of bios that you want to have. You want to have a short one, a long one, and 150 characters. What I didn't put in there that I am definitely going to talk about today is you want an introduction. And one of the things that I found that as a podcaster is that people were not giving me introductions. They were giving me bios. Now, the bio was written in first person. Hi, I'm so-and-so. This is what I've done, yada, yada. And I'm like, but I'm the one introducing you. So please create a 250 to 300 word introduction that your podcaster or your broadcaster or your TV host can actually use to introduce you. Okay, it needs to be written so that it is someone introducing you. And it needs to be written so it's easy to say. You don't want to put 5 words that start with the letter P or B all next to each other because it's very difficult for it to roll off the tongue, right? The other thing is have some fun with your headshots. I was just goofing around with my photographer, and make sure that you have headshots with each one of your books. Why? Because you're going to be promoting each one of these differently on different podcasts. And you want to make sure that as the headshots that you have, also have some action shots, like show pictures of you doing your favorite craft. Like there are a couple of shots that I have in my media kit that actually have me hiking and I'm swimming and other activities. I'm with my Girl Scouts, that kind of thing. I have these set up because I want people to see me as a human being. I have other things I'm doing other than just writing books. And the last thing that's really important is know what your strategy is. Whatever your marketing plan is, you want to set up the interview questions so that people can get to know you a little bit better. They can kind of trust that you know what you're talking about. And then they'll actually want to buy from you because you have an engaging story to tell. Well, help your interviewer out with this by writing 3 to 5 interview questions that help take where the audience is and drives them where you want to go. And then when you're on the podcast, laugh, have a great time, tell a few jokes that you know work for you. Enjoy the fact that you're on an interview and have fun. With these interview questions that you're going to give to your podcaster, at one point, a podcaster will say, hey, Janine, if somebody really likes what they've heard today, where can you send them? And frequently I will say, well, you can find a lot of free stuff on my website, authorpodcasting.com. You want to drive traffic to a very specific location and you want to make it easy for somebody to type in. Why? Because if somebody is listening to you, don't ask them to try to spell your name. I have a name that's very difficult to spell. So the last thing I'm going to do is, oh, look me up on LinkedIn. Who knows how many people are named Janine. And then there's a whole variety of ways that you can get my last name, Boland, spelled. And so you may have an easy name or you may have a name that's very common. The poor guy I feel sorry for is the one that was named Kerry Smith. And he had so many different people on LinkedIn for that. There was 27 Kerry Smiths. So I just wanted to let you know that where are you driving your traffic? In my case, it depends on what book I'm doing. This book, I was seeking audio or beta testers for this audiobook that I was doing. And so on a couple of my programs where I was being interviewed, I drove traffic to this particular audiobook because I needed beta listeners. Here's a little bonus tip that I hope will help you out. Partner with another author. This author is one of my near and dear favorite people, Helen Starbuck. Why? Because I was looking around for a new mystery writer because I kind of had gotten tired of all the books that I had read with P.D. James and she had stopped writing. And so I was looking around for another mystery writer and I happened to stumble into Helen at a writing conference. And so she's a fictional writer. I'm nonfiction. We started doing a lot of activities together. We started teaching courses together online. She writes wonderful the Annie Collins mystery series. I like it because scientifically it makes sense. She was an OR nurse, Helen Starbuck was, and so her heroine also is. And she also is starting to write these standalone romantic suspense novels. And so one of the things is just partner up with your buddies and do things together. You don't have to do this stuff alone, okay? So this is the workshop portion. We're going to go ahead and stop here and we're going to walk through how you start making your media kit. So everybody, thank you so much for showing up today, and we'll go ahead and I'll close off the recording here and we will get you set up and we'll start building out that media kit for you. Good luck and see you in a bit.